Hi, everyone. This is Steve Delisant, and thank you for tuning into this week's edition of CEOs You Should Know. I am joined by Alex Douzet, the CEO of Pumpkin Pet Insurance. Alex, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're excited to jump in a little bit about your background, a little bit about your journey, and of course, be able to talk a little bit about Pumpkin Pet Insurance. So, why don't we kick it off? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and really what led you to becoming the CEO of Pumpkin Pet Insurance?
Yeah, so as you can tell, I was not born and raised in this country. So I was born and raised in France, but I moved to the US almost like 30 years ago
Nice.
and did my entire professional career here in the US. Started in the media business and then moved to technology. I became an entrepreneur around 20 years ago. So my first company that I founded was a company called Ladders. It's a job site that competes with the likes of LinkedIn and Glassdoor. Did that for about 10, 11 years. And then really in 2015 is when I sort of pivoted to the world of what you may describe as like animal health in general. So my first entry into this was my second company that I founded called Ollie Pet Food.
Mhm.
And that company was created out of a personal experience that I had with my own dog that I rescued. And essentially the story was I got that dog, didn't know much about pet nutrition. I thought I was doing the right thing. And then my dog gained a lot of weight and became sick. And so I sought the advice of a veterinarian specialized in nutrition
Sure.
to figure out what was going wrong. And long story short, what happened there, what I've learned gave me the insight to create Ollie. And so I ran Ollie, launched it in 2016, grew it, ran it for like 4 or 5 years. And then an opportunity came to me in 2019 to do pumpkin pet insurance. And the reason why I decided to jump ship and really go full time, taking my time to pumpkins, because what made Ollie successful were the
Mhm.
same trends that made pumpkin and the pet insurance successful. And that is what we call the humanization of pets. Pets becoming really part of the family. And as a result, people want to experience a longer relationship with their pets and they're willing to spend money to improve the quality of the life of the pets. And that works for food, so improving the quality of the nutrition, as well as for the pet care and therefore pet insurance. And in 2019, when I looked at the market, here in the US, the market was drastically underpenetrated. Only 2% of what I call medicalized pets in the US had a pet insurance.
Wow.
And when we looked at other markets outside of the US, one great benchmark is the UK. We saw that the penetration was like 20 to 30%. So we knew the market was going to be deemed for high growth over the next few years. And when we studied the market, we realized there's not a single brand that is really working very well with the number one influencer in your pet's health, and that's your veterinarian. And so we basically decided to create Pumpkin in partnership with a large company called Zoetis, which is a leader in animal health, to basically become the most sort of vet-centric pet insurance product in the US. And really, one of the aim is to enable them to practice the best medicine, but also leverage them as this number one influencer to really educate pet owner about the benefit of pet insurance, because pet insurance is a great product, but it's actually misunderstood.
Hmm. I completely agree with you. Like that's a huge focus right now, right? People feel like their pets are part of their family. They're their children. They're their family member that they love and care about. So it's surprising that so many people didn't have pet insurance.
Yeah, I think that what the main problem was and still remain here, because there's a lot of education to be done there. Most pet owners think that, oh, my pet is young, he's healthy,
Yep.
and all they think
Don't have
about
to
is
worry about it.
the routine care they have to do. They have to worry about it, and they don't really see what could happen down the road. And the
Yep.
reality that what we know is it's not a matter of, is your pet going to get sick? It's a question of when and how much that's going to cost,
Yep.
right? And that's really where insurance comes in, because it's here to protect you against the unforeseen. So when they get hurt and sick, that's where we step in as a pet insurance product to provide coverage and enable you to say yes to the care. Let's do whatever it takes so that you can enjoy that longer relationship with your pet.
What makes you guys different than other pet insurances out there?
Yeah, so we are more premium. Our mission is to enable the best care possible for every pet. We want people to really have no buyer's remorse when they buy pumpkin. So whenever you have that moment where it's unforeseen and your pet gets sick and you go to your vet and they give you an estimate of this is the treatment you're going to do, we want your reaction to be, let's do whatever it takes. I have pumpkin and I'm going to get most of my money back, right?
Yep.
That's the experience we're trying to create. So to do that, you need to have a product that has a high annual limit. So we provide coverage, for instance, if you have a dog, $10,000 per year or above. We also have an unlimited product, and we reimburse for most of the expense, so 90% of the expense, as well having a very, very comprehensive coverage. So there's a lot of things that we cover. I won't go into the details not to bore you, but like you can check it out on our site. You can see all the information over like what we cover. But we're one of the most comprehensive products. So that's what positions us. And then the last thing is we really work with the community of veterinarians around the country to really do that education, because the best time we found for people to sign up for pet insurance is when they have a puppy or the pet is young, and you're going for one of those routine annual visit to your veterinarians, and then the vet has the opportunity to educate you to say, you know what, you got a French bulldog, it's great, but those little guys, they can have some problems. So you may want to look into the benefit of pet insurance, and there's a provider that we've worked with a lot and we like them, it's called Pumpkin. You should check them out and see if it's right for you. All right, so that's how we do it.
That's a really smart way, right? Because so many people probably experience it on the flip side. They wish they had insurance when they get the news about their pets.
Yeah,
so it sounds like you guys are helping them, enabling them get ahead of that.
And what's important for people to know is, you cannot be signing up for insurance the day you have an incident.
Yeah.
There's actually a waiting period for the coverage to kick in. On average, it's 14 days. So it's important to do it early so that you're protected when that unforeseen event is going to happen. In addition, across the industry, what is a common recurring issue with every pet insurance is the fact that we have exclusions around pre-existing conditions. We tend to be one of the ones that's like the most favorable approach to it, but we still have lack of coverage for pre-existing. So the really only way to address this is to sign up your pet early. If your pet is 6 to 12 months old, we do our analysis based on what is on the medical record. So what your vet writes down on their notes when you come for a visit. And guess what? If you have a young pet, that record is pretty empty. There's no track of like recurring chronic conditions. So when something happens, even if it becomes chronic, will always be covered as a result.
That's awesome. Seems like you guys are obviously one of the most innovative in the space. Where do you foresee really the pet insurance industry going in the upcoming years?
Yeah. So just to give you a point of reference, when I looked at the market 5 years ago, only 2% of pets in the US had pet insurance. Today, that number has moved to like 5%. So it's a fast growing market.
Nice, more than double.
The market grows roughly 20-25% year over year.
Sure.
We think in the next 10 years, we'll be in a place where 20% plus of pet owners in the US who really take care of their pets and go see a vet will have pet insurance. Right?
How do you feel more people will find out about it? Obviously, the veterinarians plays a part, but how are others finding out more about pet insurance?
Yeah, we are now. So last year, we did a transaction at Pumpkin where we brought on a new shareholder in addition to Zoetis. So Zoetis is still involved with us. We're working with a broader company called IPH, Independence Pet Holding, and they own other pet insurance. And what's unique about our structure is that every brand tends to be specialized. So we have brands that focus on working with shelters. We are the brand that works with veterinarians. We have a brand that focuses on working with employer and your benefits. So pet insurance can be an employee benefits product. So we're trying to cover the market in every angle if we can. It's really an education process, right? So we create a lot of content, do a lot of marketing. It's really a storytelling exercise at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, as a pet lover and a pet owner, right, it would seem like a no-brainer that you would sign up for it as soon as your veterinarian told you about it. But what are some of like the misconceptions?
Yeah, and the biggest misconception, I would categorize that into two groups.
Sure.
The first one is people think that it's a nice to have and not a must have. And that usually falls into the category of people who've never had a pet and never gone through an end-of-life experience.
That makes sense, yeah.
When you talk to a pet owner who has had a pet and has gone through an end-of-life experience, the fact that insurance or not, what they've learned through that experience, tell them, my next pet, I'm going to get pet insurance. And usually we see is within 6 to 12 months, people will get another pet.
Of course.
On average. And those people, they're like, absolutely, for my next one, I will have insurance. The young group of, let's call like young millennials or Gen Z who get a pet for the first time because now the trend is younger people have pets before they have kids.
Yep.
They don't know what it takes to care for a pet. Just to give you some point of reference, to care for a dog through the entire life, you're going to spend over $20,000 in medical expense over the life of your pet. Right? And so you want to create cover. And by the way, that $20,000 doesn't come like, oh, I'm spending $1,000 every year.
Yep.
Some year you're great, you pay it healthy, you're spending
Yeah.
very little. And then some year an incident just happened overnight, and you're like, whoa, $5,000. That's where we step in as pet insurance to help you out, so you can say yes to the care. Because when people don't have an insured pet, what we see is it's really, really bad. They'll fight with their vet, they ask for a discount, sometimes they want to renege the treatment, and it goes as far as people saying, you know what, I'm going to surrender the pet, I can't afford to keep this pet. Worst case scenario, we see it happening every week across the US. People euthanize their pet because they can't afford the care.
It's terrible.
So it's a really terrible situation. We want to really remove that, and that's part of our mission, to really remove the pain point and really help people to provide the right care for their pets.
Yeah.
And that's an education, right? If you're the first time pet owners, you don't realize you're going to get into this. So you're like, well, my pet is young, is healthy. Why do I need pet insurance?
Mhm.
I hear this all the time one of my favorite exercises is go to dog parks with my dogs, and I talk to the pet owners, and I say, oh, do you have your pet? What's his name? Do you have insurance? And they're like, insurance? Is it something I should really do? I'm like, oh yeah, you bet.
That's awesome. Within the industry, what are some of the trends that you're noticing? Like, what are some of the things that you're noticing that other maybe insurance companies are doing and that you guys are really leading the charge on?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're really trying to lead the charge on is to change the experience. The best way I can describe this is pets are property, right? And so we got our background from what I call a property and casualty experience in insurance. Well, it's a little technical, but essentially think about your car or your home.
Yep.
If you have a car insurance or home insurance, I hope you do, because if you know one of
I do,
those who
don't
drives
worry.
around without insurance. But if you do, and let's say you have an accident, you'll take your car to the body shop, have it repaired, file a claim with your insurance, and get your money back. Right? Pet insurance works that way. You go to your doctor, your veterinarians, you do the treatment, you file a claim with us, we'll reimburse you, hopefully within 2 to 3 days. Right?
Mhm.
Human health works very differently. Right? And people constantly jump back and forth and make the comparison between human health and animal health. In human health, most of us have our medical health through our employers.
Sure.
When we go to see
Yep.
our doctors, do you ever see a bill?
Rarely, right?
Rarely.
Yeah.
Right? You have your copay.
Yep.
And you pay your copay. Hopefully, your network and everything is covered, and you really don't see. And then behind the scene, the hospital and the insurance work together to settle the claim.
Mhm.
That is not how pet insurance is. That's how we want pet insurance to work down the road, right? And so one of the things where we're trying to lead the way is create an experience where you as a pet owner suddenly have an unforeseen event, but you do have pet insurance. The vet comes and say, look, to treat your dog, Spot, it's going to cost $3,000. And we want you to say, you know what, let's do whatever it takes because I have Pumpkin. But what we want you to know is to be sure, hey, it is actually going to be covered by my coverage. I don't have pre-existing conditions. And sometimes you'll be like, you know what, $3,000, but I'm going to have to put that on my credit card, and then I'm going to have to file a claim and get reimbursed, and that may take 2, 3, 4, 5 days. That's still a friction. So we want to create a process where it's seamless.
Yep.
And for those critical care moments, we enable you to basically just walk out for the appointment, paying your copay, and we will settle the claims with the clinic. So that is a new experience that we
Absolutely.
are bringing to market later this summer.
That's great. Looking forward to that. It's going to be a very positive experience, hopefully, for all the
Yeah,
consumers.
I mean, look,
and getting
we're
ahead
going
of
to
it.
start with a few hospitals. We're going to pilot this so that it works smoothly, and then over time, we're going to roll this out nationwide.
That's awesome. So switching industries, right, in your career, going to the pet care side of things, what has been like the most rewarding aspect of being the CEO?
You know what? I get to go to the office and it's pets every day. So I get to play with pets, mine and other of my employees. So we have a very pet-friendly
That's awesome.
office. And we usually, if you come to our office, you'll see on average like 3 to 4 pets. Sometimes there's a little bit of a rumble, but it's actually quite fun.
That's awesome. That'd be a fun experience, I'm sure. So that's great to be able to combine your passion, your love for animals, and obviously your day-to-day too. So for those people that are skeptical, that say like, hey, I have a brand new puppy, she's super healthy, I don't need pet insurance, what would be your advice for them?
Well, I would try to first educate them and really understand, like, is this your first dog, or have you had dogs before? Or, cats, kittens, the same experience. And to really understand what mindset they're from. If it's a first-time pet owner, then I will try to really educate them on, like, what is going to come down the road. And so it's not because they're healthy today that tomorrow nothing's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I've had this experience many times with my own pets where like they're fine, and then within a snap second,
Yeah, you hear it all the time.
my dog get bitten by another dog because they were playing,
Mm-hmm.
and then she has a cut on her face. Guess what? I have to rush to emergency room. We have to do surgery. She needs stitches, and I walk out with like $2,000. Right? I'm not an outlier. This happens every day for any pets, right? And you want to be protected and covered because for many people, you have a suddenly an unforeseen $2,000 bill. That is stressful. This is not a great experience, right? And we don't want people to be falling into the trap of making decisions like, can I continue to be a pet owner? No, we want you to keep the pet. We want the pet to be healthy. So this is why people need to be protected and have pet insurance. And it's going to take a little time, but eventually we're going to get there.
That's awesome. Where do you foresee the role of pumpkin pet insurance being in the whole pet care industry, right? Like not just insurance, but where do you foresee it really going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, so we have 2 products today at Pumpkin. We have, obviously, we're known for pet insurance protections, but we actually also have a non-insurance product that we call a wellness plan. And the wellness plan is really designed to be a product that enable people to get reimbursement for what we call the more routine care, right? And that's going to be your annual vet visits, some of the vaccines, key shots that you have to do every year with your pets, protection for the tick, flea, and heartworm medicine, and maybe sometimes blood tests or other type of diagnostics that you have to do, right? So we have a product. We're launching a new product in the fall. Won't talk about it just yet because it's not ready just yet. So it's not ready for prime time.
We'll have you back then.
But I'll just prime the market for it. Just wait for it and look for it. But that's another area we're investing in. Ultimately, where we want to be, our vision is to be in a world where we can help you as a pet owner being a better guardian of your pet. And what I mean by this is educating you, providing you tools and insights on to do risk prevention, right? Because if you think about it, today I'm only here to help you when something really bad happens, which is important and it's needed. But we want to be a little more upstream than that and help you to say, how can you be a better pet owner? What are the things you can do upfront or be aware of to raise your pet in a better way, right? And that takes very different from us. Being compliant on every year on your routine care and doing blood, because we know from a medicine standpoint, if you catch something early, you have a chance to either slow down the progression or completely eradicate the disease, right? And that's better than doing damage control when your dog is now having a tumor or cancer, right? Because that's just going to be very, very challenging.
100%.
And then going back to my background as a kind of pet food guy, nutrition, quality of nutrition, but also quantity. That's a whole value prop on Ollie. Like we do portioning extremely well. My dog is the best example. I rescued my dog Belle when she was 2 years old. I was feeding her kind of kibble food for like a couple of years. And then I learned the downside of that.
Yeah.
She was really the prototype child for Ollie. And, she was really the first one who tried the experiment. And then she's been on Ollie ever since. My dog is now 14 years old, still really healthy and doing really well. People think she looks like an 8 or 9-year-old dog. And that's because we've been taking care of her really, really well, right? So, look, I'm going to be the unusual pet owner. I'm not your average pet owner because I know so much. I've been in the industry for 10 years. And I love my pet, and I take really, really good care of them. But that we want to translate that and make it affordable and accessible to every pet owner.
That's awesome. One thing you said earlier in the conversation that stuck out to me is 10 years ago, right? You completely switched your gears. You trusted your gut. You saw this opportunity. What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs or people that want to start their own company?
Yeah, so great question. Thanks for asking it. I think the first one is really focus on what is the problem that you're solving. I think that has been a recurring theme for me with the 3 companies that I started is there really a big problem to solve? And how painful is this pain point? And really just kind of deep dive on that. And then craft the solution out of that. So if I look at Ollie, right? Ollie, sure, it started with me, my own experience, but I saw this problem across the board. Like there's an epidemic of disease with pets all related to really bad food, like just really poor quality food. And so I created Ollie to solve 2 problems. High quality food made of human grade quality ingredient and addressing the nutrition, because I saw a study that was done actually with a pet food company that says if you can keep your dog as an ideal weight through most of their life, it's kind of humanized. You can enhance the lifespan by a couple years. So I'm like, well, that's a real tangible benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So I really focused the experience on that. And so we created everything on Ollie that enabled people to say, we don't want you to guess, because that's the mistake I was making on how much quantity you have to feed. And sometimes people are like, oh, but my dog is hungry, so I'm going to give a little bit more. Yeah, guess what? You're overfeeding your dog, and that's bad. No, we just want you to feed them exactly what they need.
Awesome.
So we designed the whole experience for this. At Pumpkin, the pain point was essentially that, pet insurance was not being talked about because veterinarians were not either aware of the benefit of pet insurance or had a bad experience in the past. And when we looked at the data, we realized an insured pet comes twice as often to see your vet as a non-insured pet. And when they come, they say yes to the care. So the experience goes as follows. Someone with a non-insured pet goes to a vet. They're like, oh, how much that's going to cost? I don't know if I can afford this. Do we really have to spend all this money on this test? Someone who comes with an insurance product, say, you know what? Let's do whatever it takes.
Yep.
I have pet insurance.
No brainer.
Right? And so that was a real pain point, and it creates a lot of stress. I don't know if you know, but like out of the veterinary industry, they have the second highest suicidal rate of any profession in the US.
Wow.
Right? It's higher than dentists. People always think the dentists are like highest. Now, vets are like number 2. It's driven out of this pain point what we call compassion fatigue, because they are tired to see every day pets being euthanized because the people cannot afford the care. Right? Vets got into this world because of their passion for animals.
Yep.
And they want to save life, and they want to practice the best care possible. And so we saw the opportunity to say, we're going to be your co-pilot. We're going to come right alongside of you and really remove the friction that gets in the way of you doing your job. Right?
Yeah, it sounds like such a natural synergy there.
Yeah, that's a lot of synergy, and that's our mission.
That's awesome. Well, this has been a great conversation. Thank you for coming in and really sharing your story, a little bit more about, obviously, Pumpkin Pet Insurance as well. For all of our listeners that tuned in, how can they find out more?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to learn more about Pumpkin, you can just Google us, do Pumpkin Pet Insurance, or go to pumpkin.care, C-A-R-E.
Awesome. Well, Alex, thank you. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you for sharing all the information. We really enjoyed it. Tune in next week for next week's edition of CEOs You Should Know.